let's go, let's leave, let's hit, let's go. Holy hair, let's go, let's go, let's go.
What's up, beauties? Welcome back to another tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be taking my sister-in-law to a lived-in cool blonde, and before she had just regular highlights and she has hard water, so her hair goes really brassy. So we're trying to cool off her blonde, and we're going to be doing some low lights, a root shadow just to give her more of a lived-in look. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for the rest of this video to see her color transformation. Yay, So for her formula, I have a root shadow mixed up, shade CQ 7NA and 5N, equal parts, and then I have Schwarzkopf Blonde Me for her highlight with 25 volume, and then I also have her low light formula, which is going to be a little bit different than the root shadow because we want to add in a little bit of that warmth. So I used a 7GB, a little bit of 5N. That makes a perfect like level 6 with the gold in there to fill in her hair when you're doing low lights. So I'm going to be doing this lived-in blonde look all in one step. So I'm starting off by weaving through some lowlights in her bottom section here, so we have some good dimension on the underneath of her hair. So I'm just going to do a couple down in here, and then I'm going to go through, do her root shadow while I pull through a few lowlights and then pull up some really fine baby highlights. So I'm taking pretty big sections back here, and I'm doing pretty chunky weaves with the lowlights because we want to give her a bunch of dimension. She has kind of just like an all over blonde look right now, so we want to create a lot of that lived in dimension by pulling through the lowlights, and that's why we're doing the root shadow as well. So in between all of her foils, I am taking down that root shadow about 2.5 inches, and I'm just feathering that down her hair. And then I want you guys to see how I am weaving her highlights for this. So I'm actually weaving them from the big section. So I'm weaving them just like that from the section, pulling them down, and then I'm highlighting that. And that just gives us a really, really nice softness at the root and a softness on her grow out. And this just creates a really natural look for her. And then I'm just going through anything that goes dark all the way till her ends. I'm bringing that up into the highlight so that we have an even highlight section there. And then I just like to double check and feather that up into the root, and that is how I am doing her highlights. And I continued this pattern up into the crown of her head. So coming onto her top section, I'm going to be parting everything out, pulling down the root shadow on the sides, and I'm actually only going to be highlighting this triangle section on the top of her hair and then her hairline. Please ignore her crooked sectioning. I will fix that in a minute. So we're going to give her a really blonde pop on the hairline, and then we're going to do some really fine baby lights on the top, and I'm still going to be root shadowing in between those foils. But on the sides here, I am doing a root shadow, and we're not doing any highlights over here because she already has so much blonde. We're really trying to create that lived in depth. And we've done the same thing on this side here. So we got all of that depth going on. This is her triangle section in the front that we're going to be highlighting. And I will show you guys when she's processing what everything looks like. Coming into her top triangle section that we are highlighting here, I'm going to be taking diagonal back sections, and I'm going to be pulling that root shadow down in between all of her highlighting foils. So I'm highlighting and I'm weaving backwards like I did in the rest of her hair, and this is going to create a softness on that root and just a really natural look. So, and then the reason why I am bringing down her root shadow in between the foils is just to soften any harsh lines we have in her hair from her grow out of her previous highlights. So just bringing down that root to soften those lines, and then doing a back weave on her highlights. And I'm maneuvering everything perfectly so I do not set down the highlight on top of the root shadow. So kind of just meeting in the middle at some point here. You'll see in a minute where I meet up in the middle. I'm going to do a few foils on this side, and then I do a few foils on the other side. This is her heavier side here, so there's going to be bigger and more foils on this side than there is on the other side. And then we meet in the middle at the mini piece and give her that blonde pop in the front. So I had Shayna film me do this entire top triangle section because I never know exactly how I'm going to maneuver each section, especially something like this. This is kind of just a little bit different than like your average sectioning, and everyone's head shape is so different. So you just never know how you're going to maneuver somebody's sectioning and their hair until you really like get into it. That's why I always use my rule to just go where the hair takes you, because everyone wants a different result and everyone has a different head shape, and there's just so many factors that go into doing someone's hair. So a lot of times I don't know where I'm going to go until I get into it, which is encouraging for, you hairstylists out there that are like just starting out, and if you get overwhelmed by your placement and just like overthink, like don't overthink it. That's like the number one thing that I tell Shayna is like, just don't overthink everything you're doing. Just kind of go with the flow, be able to, be adaptable to where you're at, and just kind of maneuver like I'm doing here. So as I'm maneuvering to meet into more of a straighter section here, I just kind of like section it off, see how I'm doing. Like you can always reestablish the section. You don't have to like nothing is set in stone. So I'm starting here with like a root shadow foil, and that's just to give a really soft transition. And then the next foil I'm going to do is going to be a highlight foil, but I'm going to feather it up to the root to give even more of a softer transition to her bolder money piece. And I didn't film me doing the money piece section because I feel like you guys have seen me do so many money piece sections. So I basically just weaved each foil. I didn't leave a ton of hair in between, and I just weaved and feathered it up to her root on majority of her foils around her face. And you will see when we do her foil pull how we created that bold money piece section. And here she is processing. And I did add a couple of lowlights in her side sections as well, just to give her some more dimension. Sometimes you can go in and add lowlights after you're finished foiling if you feel like you need to have some more dimension in there. So although I did the root shadow in between her foils, when I pulled everything, I just did a quick root tap with that same root shadow formula just to give her a softness on the grow out. And she wants this to look really natural and kind of give that rooty look. So I've been letting this sit for about 10 minutes. I'm gonna rinse her root shadow and then I'm going to tone her. Her hair has a lot of warmth because she is in hard water. So we are just going to tone her with Shades EQ 10P and 9P. I mixed both of them because she's kind of in between a level 9 and 10 and we want to keep her as bright as possible. So I didn't want to go all 9. I wanted to have an in between. So I mixed 9 and 10P for her toner formula, and I think that that's going to counteract the warmth and give her that really pretty platinum blonde result. So I'm going to go ahead and get her rinsed and put her toner on, and I cannot wait for you to see this final result. So I got her all rinsed and applied her toner. You want to really emulsify the toner in kind of like shampoo. It should suds up. If you're using Shades EQ, it should suds up like shampoo, just like this. And that's just gonna create, like, it kind of like puffs out so that you can make sure you fully saturate. And we let this process for 20 minutes. And then I went into doing her bridal trial because if you saw my previous video, she got married to my brother, and so we did her bridal, style trial, and it was so much fun. She had a really cute boho style going on with a bunch of braids, and it was just super effortless and pretty. So we did her trial for her makeup and her hair, and if you want to see that video, I will link it right here. And here's me doing her makeup and her lashes and all of that. So I'll link that video right here if you're interested in seeing her bridal trial. And obviously she had to try on the dress for the bridal trial, and here's her after of her hair color. It looks so gorgeous and so pretty. I just cannot believe how natural and lived in this turned out. Let me know in the comments what you think of her before and after, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you beauties in my next video.
Let's go, let's hit, let's go. Holy hair, let's go, let's go, let's go.